Good morning, everybody. I thought we would do the homework together on a little different way through YouTube. So I just did the homework myself, and I thought we could go. You guys can listen and go through it together. Just a little bit different way to mark it. So number one. So you're on page 224, number one. And the first question is, what unit would you use to express each perimeter and area? Explain your choice. So I've done mine, you can see on the screen there. So the number A is a park close to your home. So I chose meters or kilometers. Depending, like Stanley Park obviously would be kilometers because it's so big. Maybe Lynn Valley Park, you might do meters because it's not as big. But you certainly wouldn't do centimeters or millimeters because they are not an appropriate measurement because they'd be too small. You want to pick one that's more appropriate to measure. So, I mean, really hard to get a meaning if you have like something like, tens of thousands of centimeters. Makes it hard to kind of picture. This makes it easy to picture. So A, the perimeter was in meters or kilometers, and the area could be square meters or square kilometers. For B, it is the cover of your notebook. Okay, much smaller. Meters and kilometers isn't going to work here. So you want to choose centimeters. You could even choose millimeters, but I put centimeters, and the area would be centimeters squared. C, the library floor in your school. So our library is relatively big, a bit bigger than a classroom, so I think the perimeter would be measured in meters. Okay, centimeters would be too small. Anything above a meter is going to be too difficult. So perimeter in meters, area in square meters, or meters squared. So D is your bedroom closet ceiling. I guess depending how big your closet is, mine's not so big. So I chose you could do either in centimeters for perimeter or meters, and area then would be square centimeters or meters squared, which is also said as square meters. The last one, the top of a chalk brush. So it's not so big, so it could be centimeters or it could be millimeters for the perimeter, and then for the area would be millimeters squared or square millimeters, or centimeters squared, square centimeters. So that is on the answers number one. I'm going to pause this on my end, you won't notice it, and do question 2 for you. We can talk about that. Okay. So here I have question 2A. We've got a rectangle with one side 31 meters, one side 30 meters. So we got the perimeter. To get the perimeter, I added 31 plus 30 to get the sides, and I know that these are the same, so I put 31 plus 30, which is 61, times 2, I've got it in brackets to complete our order of operations, equals 122 meters. The area is 31 meters times 30 meters, which is 930 meters squared. And the way I figured that out, I figured out it in my head the first time. Well, I looked at it and go, well, I know 30 times 30 is 900 because 3 times 3 is 9, and then the 2 zeros. And then 1 times 30, add it to get 930. Okay, so that's kind of mental math. But if you just did it traditionally here, 31 times 30, well, 0 times 31 is 0, so then you put that down. And then 3, you put a 0 here because we're not multiplying by 3, we're multiplying by 30. Okay, so any multiple of 10 is going to be a 0 there. So then we go 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, we get 930. So that's the answer to A. So for B, we've got another rectangle with a side length 44 centimeters and 14 centimeters. So I did it a little differently this time for perimeter. I did 44 times 2 because both sides are 44, plus 14 times 2. I don't need brackets because the order of operations says we don't need it. So that turns into 88 plus 28 equals 116. Now the area is 44 centimeters times 14 centimeters, which is 616 centimeters. And if you see here, I chose to do it with the 44 on the bottom. Lots of times we think of putting the smaller number on the bottom, but because they're both 4s, I only had to do the multiplication one time. So 4 times 4 is 16, carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 1 is the 5. So then I know this is also. So there's my answer for B. So this is C, and here's is a rectangle, even though it's kind of turned on its edge. Still just a rectangle. I apologize for I don't have the ability on this to do straight lines, and I just didn't want to. I can't. The ruler doesn't work on this pad. So so we got a side length of 36 millimeters and another one of 28 millimeters. Okay, so I did the perimeter a third way. Just simply added 36. So this side is going to be 28. This side is also going to be 36. Okay, and they're both millimeters. So perimeter is 36 plus 36 plus 28 plus 28. And one of the things I noticed here when I was adding these up, I know 36 plus 36 is 72, and then I know that 28 plus 72 is 100, so I can see it's 128. So for the area, I've got 36 millimeters times 28 millimeters, which when I do my math here, now you can see I've got 1008 millimeters squared. Okay, for number 3, we've got the rectangle with the unknown sides, and when I measure mine, this one's not to scale, but side length, or the length of 6.3 centimeters, and the width or height of 2.7 centimeters. So we've got perimeter of 18 centimeters, because 6.3 plus 2.7 equals 9, and then you double it for these two sides, you're going to get 18. And then I've got 17.01 centimeters squared. Okay, 6.3 times 2.7. Now really important, make sure that your area is centimeters squared. It's always going to be something squared, and your perimeter is not. It's going to be just the basic unit. So something really important to remember, because that if you do that on the test, I know last time I gave the grade 7s a bit of a break on that, but that means a totally different thing. Okay, so just going to get ready to do number 4. Okay, so here we have number 4. We have two rectangles we're talking about. Rectangle A, and I just drew it kind of roughly here, has a side length, has a length of 8 centimeters, okay, and has an area of 40 centimeters squared. We don't know the height here, or the length or the width of this one. Then they got it says rectangle B. Says the rectangles have the same length, so we know that it was 8 centimeters here, so down here it's the same, it's also 8 centimeters. Now it also tells us that the area of rectangle B is 1/2 the area of rectangle rectangle A, sorry. So we know the area is 40 centimeters squared. Okay, so we've got to think, well, what's half of 40 centimeters squared? Well, half of 40, okay, which is, so when you do half of something, you divide it by 2. So 1/2 of 40 is 20 centimeters squared. Okay, so the area of rectangle B is 20 centimeters squared. Now, up here we know the length, but we don't know the width, but we know the area, so we can figure it out. So length, I'll put a question mark. So 8 times question mark equals 40. Now I know, just from lots of years of math and arithmetic, that 8 times 5 equals 40, which means that the side length, okay, is 5 centimeters. Okay, but if I want to kind of do it more mathematically, I know 8 centimeters times question mark centimeter, we don't know how many question mark, equals 40 centimeters squared. Okay, well if I want to get this, so now I know another way to do this. If I want to have 8 on this side times, okay, is if I want to like I always talk about solving a simpler problem, and I like to do like this. Okay, 2 times 3 equals 6. And then I always think, like, well, how do I figure out, because right here this question mark is the 3 here, so how would I figure out 3 in the real one? Well, 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So I look over here and I go 40 divided by 8 equals 5. Okay? Now they're asking though, what's the side length of this one down here? Well, we have to figure out down here the same thing. Well, it makes sense if this one's 5, if this is 8 and this is 8, we're getting half the area, that this length should be half of this. So it should be 2.5 centimeters. But let's see if we can do it mathematically. So now we know that the area is 20, so we know we've got 8 centimeters times question mark here, we don't know, question mark centimeters equals 20 centimeters squared. So 8 times something equals 20 centimeters squared. Now, my estimate means it should be a little bit, like if I did 8 times 2 would be 16, 8 times 3 would be 24, so it's got to be somewhere, going to be somewhere in the middle. That's what, so that 2.5 centimeters that I think is the answer makes sense. Okay, but another way to do that would be like we did before, would be 20 divided by 8 equals question mark, and indeed it equals 2.5 centimeters. Okay, so I should have centimeters squared there and centimeters here. Just simple centimeters. Okay, so that's question number 4. So number 5, it says the perimeter of a square is 20 centimeters. So what is the area of the square? How do you know? Well, we've got a square. If the perimeter, we know the square, it's got 4 equal sides. So if the perimeter of a square is 20, okay, then we need to divide 20 by 4 equal sides to figure out what one side. So it equals 5. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Now I really should be putting my units in here, so centimeters, 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 sorry, a little messy here, 7 meters. Okay, so we know that the sides have to be 5 because the perimeter is 20, they're all equal, so 4 times 5 equals 20. So now to do our area, we just simply do 5 centimeters times 5 centimeters, which is 1 length, times the width. Okay, or in this case, they're kind of either the same. And we're going to get 25 centimeters squared. That's your answer to number 5. Okay, so number 6, I had a little delay there, sorry. So number 6, a rectangle has dimensions 3 centimeters by 5 centimeters. So it says what happened to the perimeter of the rectangle in each case if the width is doubled. So we got the width as 3 and the length is 5. So let's got this 3 and 5 over here. The original perimeter is 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 3. So the original perimeter equals 16 centimeters. So it just says here if the width is doubled, so we're going to add, if we're going to do double this, so this is 6 centimeters and this is 6 centimeters. Well, we're going to add 3 on there, we're going to add 3, so it's going to add 6. So the perimeter, if it's doubled, the perimeter will be 16 plus 6, which will be 22 centimeters. Okay, and then it says here if the length is doubled, well, so now we're back to the original, so we still have this is 3 and this is 3. If we double the length, this is going to be 10, this is going to be 10, so it's going to add 10 on. In that case, the perimeter would be 26 centimeters. If both the length and the width are doubled, okay, then you're going to go, that would make a new, let's just draw, I'm going to draw it out because that's some way. So instead of 3, that's going to be 6, and that will also be 6. This will be 10, and this will be 10. Okay, and we can see here, and these are all centimeters, 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 centimeters. So now we've got 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 6 times 2, which is 12, added together is 32. So the perimeter, if we double all, is 32 centimeters. And lo and behold, if we look up at our original, we've doubled everything, okay, and we double the perimeter when we double everything, which kind of makes sense. Okay, that's number 6. So on to number 7. It says a rectangular park has dimensions. Let's draw this here. Again, apologize for my terrible rectangles. I'm going to say so 450 meters times 375 meters. Okay, so of course these are the same, 375 meters, 345 meters. Okay, and it says, what is the area of the park in square meters? Well, that one's relatively simple. We times the length, which is 450 meters, by the length. Okay, so 375 times 450. Again, I put the 450 in the bottom because there's a 0 here, so I know that I don't need to do, it's one less calculation I need to do. So 5 times 5, okay, it's not really 5, though this is a 50, so the first thing we need to do is put a 0. 5 times 5 is 25, so we carry the 2. 5 times 7 is 35, so we got 7, we carry the 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 3 is 18. Okay, and then we go down here, we got 4. Oh, well, we forgot, we're not timesing by 4, it's really 400. So we're going to put 2 zeros there. 4 times 5 is 0, carry the 2. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 3 is 15. So when we add these together, we get 0, 5, 7, 8, 6, 1. So that's 168,750, and of course it's meters squared because it was meters times meters, so that's meters squared. So there's your answer for how many meters squared it is, but the question also asked us, what is the area of the park in hectares? So we know this, we know that this is the area of the park in square meters, but how do we figure it out in hectares? Well, we learned that in the reading that 1 hectare equals 10,000 meters squared. Okay, and so to get 1 hectare, we need to move. So we need to move the decimal over 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Okay, to get a hectare from 10,000 meters squared. So here we have. I'll write this out again. We have 168,750 meters squared. Okay, meters squared. But I'm just writing this here. So, but actually, what it is, then I'm going to put a decimal, just so we know that decimal. We know if we need to move it over 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a decimal. So it's really 16.875 hectares is the answer to how many hectares for number 7. Okay. So here we have question number 8, and it says, Lena used 34 meters of fencing to enclose a rectangular section of her backyard. What might the area of the enclosed section be? You get 3 different answers. Okay, so if she's bought 34 meters of fencing, that means that the 34 meters of fencing, that's the total, that's the perimeter. So you need to find out a rectangle with a perimeter of 34. Now, of course, because it's a rectangle, it's going to have the length the same and the width the same. So here's one I have of a length of 9 and a width of 8. So 9 plus 9 is 18. Okay, 8 plus 8 is 16. You add them together, you get a perimeter of 34. And this is the case, and these are, of course, meters. Sorry, I should put my meters on there. Meters. So 8 times 9 is 72 meters squared. 8 times 9 meters times 9 meters. 8 times 8 meters times 9 meters equals 72 meters squared. Here, okay, makes sense. I've added the length is up 1 to 10, which means we take the width down by 1. So 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 14 is 34. And 7 times 10, we got an area of 70 meters squared. And again, I got a little lazy here. I need to make sure I have my units on there. Put them on here too. When you're doing your test, you're definitely going to need your units. So this one is a little probably not as likely. This one's got a length of 15 meters by 2 meters. So 15 plus 15 is 30. Plus 2 is 34. So that works. But the area is 15 times 2. 15 meters times 2 meters, which is 30 meters squared. So that's not as practical of area to have in your backyard, but who knows? Maybe that is something that she did. Maybe this is a special garden or something that she's got. So there's 3 examples. Okay, another example could have been 16 meters length by 1 meter as well. Okay, if I had made this 3 meters and 3 meters, okay, then this would have been 19 meters, whatever adds up to 34. So that is question number 8. So number 9, a square room has an area 16 meters squared. What is the perimeter of the room? So the key is that this is a square. Okay. So the lengths of each side are going to be the same. So it's got an area of 16 meters squared. Okay, which means what times what equals 16. So I mean, I don't think there's this one. We can tell is 4 meters by 4 meters. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 meters times 4 meters is 16 meters squared. So therefore, the lengths of it are all 4 meters. Okay. So number 11, or number 10, sorry, I think is a little bit tricky, much trickier than the other ones. It says the area of Saskatchewan is approximately equal to the area of a rectangle with dimensions 530 kilometers by 1225 kilometers. What is the area of Saskatchewan to the nearest hectare? So we've got kilometers. So when we do, let's say we get 1 kilometer. Let's just go say 1 kilometer, which equals 1,000 meters. So if we wanted to get what was 1 square kilometer, okay? So 1 kilometer times 1 kilometer equals, so 1 times 1 is 1, and kilometer times kilometer is kilometers squared. So 1 kilometer times 1 kilometer equals 1 kilometer squared. Okay, but since we know, like up here where we said 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters, if we go 1,000 meters times 1,000 meters, well, we've got it makes 1 million meters squared. Okay. Okay, but so that's 1 square kilometer is 1 million meters squared. Now we know it says in the book, so 1 hectare equals 10,000 meters squared. So now the big question is, well, how many hectares are there in 1 square kilometer? If 1 square kilometer is 1 million, okay, how many hectares at 10,000 meters squared can fit in 1 square kilometer? Well, this is bigger. 1 million meters squared is definitely bigger than 10,000 meters squared. So do you think we could fit 10 in there? Let's see if we could fit 10 in there. So to fit 10, we had to multiply this by 10. So 10,000 meters squared times 10 equals 100,000 meters squared. Okay, so still short. We're not at 1 million. We've only got 100,000. So now so it looks like that was times 10. Well, what if we multiplied this by another 10? So now we're multiplying, or let's just go back. 10 was too small. So now we got 10,000 meters squared. So 10 was too small. So what if we multiply it by 100? Well, we know because multiplying anything by a power of 10, we add the number of zeros, and that is indeed going to give us 1 million meters squared. So by doing this, we can see, you can fit 100 hectares into 1 kilometer square, 1 square kilometer, because that's 1 million meters squared. This is 10,000. You can put 10 of this goes 10 times into this. Okay? So now we figured out that, I'm just going to erase this. Now you can figure out that we figured out that 1 kilometer squared equals 10 hectares. Okay, just going to clear this page. Okay, so here we are. So now we've determined, just to reiterate, 1 kilometer squared equals 100 hectares. Now it says here we've got 1,225 kilometers is the length of Saskatchewan, and the width is, these are approximate, 530 kilometers. Okay, so when we do the math, we got 0, so we can put a 0 there because this, because we're multiplying by 30 here, not just by 3. So 3 times 5 is 5, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 is 7. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, so now we're going to multiply by the 5, but it's not really 5, it's really 500, so we put the 2. 5 times 5 is 5, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is, so 12, carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 1, carry the 1. So that's 6. So we got 5, 2, 7 is 9. So if my math is correct, which I don't think it is actually, I think I made a mistake here. So let me just let's do this again. Sorry. Oh yeah, so I'm not sure where I got this 9 from here because this is supposed to be 3 plus 1, of course, is 4. So we got 649,250 square miles. So we've got 649,250, sorry, not miles, kilometers squared. But the question said to us, how many hectares do we have? Okay, so this is how many kilometers. Now, we learned before, for every kilometer squared, okay, how many hectares was there? Oh, 100. So we need to, so is there going to be more hectares than this or less? Okay, it's going to be more. If 1 kilometer equals 100, so we multiplied 1 by 100, we'll do the same thing here. So when you multiply by 100, we're going to move the decimal place 2 places. So now we're going to go 649, say 250, and they're just going to go decimal 00. Then, okay, we move the decimal over once and then twice. These are hectares. So the answer is, okay, 64,925,000 hectares. And I think HA is the abbreviation for hectares. So that was a little more confusing, and so you can watch this, you can reverse this and watch it again if you're not sure. We can go over it together as well. Okay, so the key there was kind of, we know that, for example, 100 centimeters equals a meter, 1,000 millimeters equals a meter, 10 centimeters equals 1 decimeter. But here I don't know that we knew 1 kilometer squared equals 100 hectares, so we had to figure that out. I didn't see that in your reading, so we'll see. Hopefully that made sense. If not, we can certainly go over it in class. Okay, so number 11. Pat is making rectangular placemats, each with area. So the area equals 1,200 centimeters squared. And she wants to put braid trim around the edges. I guess we should say they want to put braid trim around the edges, keeping it gender neutral. How much trim does Pat need for each placemat? Is there more than one answer? Explain. So let's see. So we know the area, but we don't for how much braid is going to be related to the perimeter. So if this is our placemat, Okay, so we need to come up with something that gives us the area. Okay, so say for example the dimensions are off here, but say it was 12 centimeters by 100 centimeters. Not much of a placemat, but that length times width would be 1200 centimeters squared. Okay, now say we decided to do make it, let's say we'll double this side, 24 centimeters, and we'll half this side, 50 centimeters. Erase that. 24 centimeters times 50 centimeters also equals 1200 centimeters squared. Okay? Okay, let's erase that again. If this was 40 centimeters, and this was 30, I know this is all messy, but I think you're going to get where I'm going. Also goes to 1200. So yeah, there definitely are, there are definitely more than one answer. There's lots of different answers that can make. So that's the answer for number 12. And that's as far as I asked you to go. So hopefully this made sense. Just a second, I'll give you your homework for today. Hold on. Okay, so the next thing you guys can do is I want you to read page 226, 227, and you're going to do practice questions numbers 1, 2, and reflect. Okay. After you've done that, we're going to move on to lesson number 6, relating area and perimeter, but I want to go over that with you. So you can just do to this point. All right, you guys, hope this worked for you. Thanks.